Hey guys, welcome back. On the road again. Just left Albuquerque actually, and had to make a trip down to. Well, let's see. Let me back up. So about 2 weeks ago, I made a drive down here and dropped off the bumpers and some parts for the vent windows and a few other little pieces and parts that were all chrome on the 66 Chevelle. And all those parts, I tried a few of the different tricks online to de-chrome parts and had a very minimal amount of success while making once or twice making a pretty good mess. So rather than keep seeing how many messes I could make, I started hunting for some place that could de-chrome these parts. And while I don't know a ton about it, I can tell you it's a pretty what I would believe a pretty caustic process. I mean, from the stuff I was trying, and we tried something as mundane as sandblasting it, and old flaky kind of chrome that you might find on some parts, that stuff, yeah, that came right off. But all the other chrome on the bumpers and on parts that had good solid chrome on them didn't even scratch it really. You could spend enough time on it to put an etch in it on some of the parts, but the chrome didn't remove the chrome, it just etched the chrome. And so the powder coat would stick, but there's no guarantee that it will last long term. So the proper process is you got to get the chrome off. And I started hunting for a place that could do that. And everybody kept telling me you either got to ship all the parts to Denver or you got to ship them to El Paso. And there are locations in both that do chroming, and they will de-chrome your parts. It's several $100s to ship a couple bumpers in either direction, and it is additionally probably a couple. Well, I think both locations were like $180 a bumper, plus I don't know, several. There's going to be probably another $100 or something. Anyway, for all the miscellaneous parts on the vent windows and all that. So that didn't really work for me very well. Anyway, so in the process of figuring all this out, I started. I knew from years and years ago there used to be a place in Albuquerque that did chrome. And I started making calls, and that place is gone out of business, or has gone out of business. But another place that used to do chrome and now does powder coating and hard anodization and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they do all kinds of coatings. And I will post their a link or something to their site. Just if you're in New Mexico and you need some place to get some work done. There is a place in El Paso, and there's this place in Albuquerque. They don't do chrome anymore, but they kept all of the equipment, the vats of acid and whatever else you need to de-chrome. And anyway, so that was a couple weeks ago. Drove down here, dropped off the parts. Great people, very nice, very helpful. They would have been willing to powder coat these parts when we were done, but because we have so many parts powder coated, I kind of feel like it's using the place that we've been using all along to do all our powder coating is a better plan, so that we can keep a consistent finish. They're using the same brand of product over and over and over. And anyway, you guys have seen some of those parts come back from powder coating. So in fact, I have a whole other bunch there now. I'll be taking some of these parts right away. So that's what's going on. So I think I've skipped over this now. Anyway, I'm in the car. I'm driving home, just left Albuquerque, and I've got all the bumpers and other parts with me, and I'll throw up some pictures of that. Worked out just to come back from my regular job through Albuquerque and rent a car rather than go home, jump in my truck, drive down here and drive back. That's about a 6-hour round trip plus any time you need it, in town. So it kills a whole day to try and make a round trip to Albuquerque. And this way, it's only about 8:40 in the morning. So, and I've already picked up all the parts and on the highway home. So anyway, just thought I'd tell you guys what's going on. We'll get down there or get home and get these parts out and get some pitting and stuff cleaned up that's on a few of them. Some of them, the chrome was so bad that there was pitting and it was through the chrome and into the nickel and probably into some of the other base materials. So I'll have to clean those up with wire wheels and sanders. Once they're all smooth, we can drop those off and powder coat. So I'm going to eat my breakfast. You guys enjoy. Made it back from Albuquerque, and got some parts here. Let me see if I can show you these. So these have already been de-chromed. So even though they look shiny, that's actually just the nickel finish that's under. So most, you guys probably know this, most chrome parts are the base metal, then copper, and they use the copper and nickel to fill imperfections, and then the chrome goes over the top of the nickel finish. So they get essentially dipped like 3 times. So kind of a misnomer misnomer, a advertising thing is they'll talk about triple dipped chrome. Well, pretty much all chrome has to be triple dipped to get the coatings that are required. So the copper goes on first, and then the nickel sticks to the copper, and then the chrome sticks to the nickel. And I'm no expert. I don't know if you could do it a different way, but from everything I've ever been told and understand, you got to have all 3 of those processes. So anyway, if you look at this real close, if I can get it to focus in there, you can see that pitting in there. So when we were de-chroming these, I was hoping all of that was under the chrome, or was in the chrome. And as it turns out, it's at least into the nickel, and that's probably rust from the base metal. So we're going to put this on the wire wheel here and see if we can't knock that off. So let me find a pair of gloves. So on this particular piece, some of it cleaned up.
but a lot of it is still real rough. I think we're just going to have to get some sandpaper out. And probably try a flap wheel on a die grinder. See if we can't clean that up that way. So let me get those things out. So I got a little pitting on the inside here still. Most of it's off now, but I think I'm going to take probably a file and just some. This is 120 grit on there, so probably some 120. Clean up these little areas, and I'm just going to do it by hand. And then maybe a file to clean up any edges or to make it smooth again. And then maybe run a piece of 220 or something over it. So let me see what I got for that. Got some 120 here. Really smooth, and then before the powder coaters actually powder coat it, they will actually blast it with either glass or sand to give it a uniform finish for their process, so that the powder coat will look the same all the way across the part. They're not really trying to take any material off or anything like that. I have to do a little work right here. Not really trying to hit the few spots. Alright, I'm quitting. I like that one. Well, I said that, and then I found another little spot. You guys, for a lot of times you have to really watch, you know. Like I said, I thought, or I hoped, I guess, because I knew it was a high possibility, that the pitting that was on these could be under the chrome, like it is. So you really got to be careful, you know, at least doing this as a business, in that if you spend too much time restoring a part that is easily accessible, you know, meaning these are repopped and they're not that expensive. They're about $25, I think, for the set of two. In our case, no matter what, we had to de-chrome whatever, because the new ones would be chromed as well. So there's always that expense if you're going to do the powder coating option. But you got to be real careful on how much time you spend on these, because take your shop rate or another shop's rate, and you know, if you're having the work done somewhere and they spend an hour on this and then they charge you $50, $75, $100 depending on the shop rate wherever your project's at, this little part, you know, could real quickly come up and be a $100 handle. And it's not worth it, because you could buy a brand new one for $25, you have it de-chromed, and then it's immediately ready to go with little or no further prep. And I know I'm spending quite a bit of time on it, but at this point it's because I thought they were completely salvageable, and they are. I'm spending more time than I should as far as a cost basis, so in the end, when this goes back to the customer, he'll get charged for a very minimal amount of the time that's spent taking them apart, putting them together, all that kind of stuff, because you just can't make it feasible. You know, can't make it fair to your customer to charge for something that they could have bought for substantially less, just because you spent the labor trying to save an old part versus buying a new one. There's something commendable. I mean, if you want to talk about green states and green, you know, the ecology, it's green to save that, to take it and have the chrome taken off of it and then bring it back. It's one less thing ending up in a landfill or wherever. But beyond that, you know, at just a pricing idea, it's an expensive way to go, or it can be. Now, if you're doing it for yourself, and like most of my customers, I become pretty good friends with them before it's all over. Usually because we have, you know, we talk so often, and I have their car for so long. And you guys can go back and look and see that I've been working on this Chevelle for a very long time, over 3 years already, and it will be ready in the next, well, I had already hoped to have it ready, but it will now be ready for sure in the next 60 days or less. So I treat them like they are my car. I build them the way I would, you know, to the standards that I would want, or, you know, want for myself. And in fact, to the standards that I build for myself. And maybe even better, because sometimes you're willing to take a shortcut for yourself that you just won't take on somebody else's project. Anyway, I thought I could file that off, but I think I'm going to go ahead and put it back on this wheel. So, make some noise. So we have these pieces, which, again, the chrome's already off. That's just nickel. There's no damage in that. There's a little bit of rust in there. And of course this bolt's got a little rust on it, but when they sandblast that, that'll clean those up. And both of these are, yeah, pretty much identical. I have these two pieces, which don't have very much, but there's a little pitting here, some right in there, all the way along this one. The other one's a little less, so we're going to try and clean these up a little bit too. guys, so one of the other things I had to do, or need to do, is, see if I can show you this. On the air compressors, the mounts were, one was like that and one was on the inside here. And what I found was that when the holes were lined up, I had about a 1/4 inch gap. And I actually measured it, it's 260, 0.260. I also had a problem with, there's a shelf in the trunk, which you've probably already seen me make. And that shelf hits the top of the compressor in their stock height format. So I am notching out the slots here, or the holes, so that I can get the compressor to where the body of the compressor is all the way down, just a paper's width off of that, giving me that 0.260 clearance. And since I was about a 1/4 inch from clearing anyway, now everything should just barely clear all of the different components in there. In the meantime, I was putting some nut zerts in the trunk floor to mount the compressors and broke the tools, so I'm going to have to get a part for that coming right away and get the one nut zert that I messed up out. So anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. So we get these slots cut and basically just zeroing in on that hole and then running in 260 thousandths. I'm having to go pretty slow because that bit is, it's a 3/16 inch in the, I don't want to snap it off, especially since I have, after this hole, I still have 3 more to go. So it really sucks to break the tool you're using. There's 100. That's it, 260 thousandths. Got a nice slot. Okay, so what you'll notice is the radius here is larger than the radius on the motor side. So we want the clamp, instead of being out here like it originally was, we want it on the inside where the motor is, so we can get this lower, and that's just this case. Also, the plate here is what's threaded, so the screws need to go through from this side to thread into this backing plate to secure the cover on the motor. So what we're going to do is I went and bought a little longer screw. We're going to run these in with some Loctite. Now that locks down the cover to the motor. Let me put our bushings back in here. We can put this on this side, and then we'll put, I got a couple of nuts, put those in over here. What I discovered last time was good if you just get them snug down. Then we can use a wrench to tighten them up the rest of the way. This other end's a little easier. Alright, that's it. So that lowered it 0.260 inch. So just over 1/4 of an inch. So now both pressers will mount right there, and they will be underneath the shelf that runs across there. And then I'm going to run, I think, a fresh air port down through that oval hole in the trunk floor. I've got the block-off plate for that. I think I'm going to run the fresh air ports there. Then the air needs to come into one end or the other of the tank. And so what I'll do is probably set these up and then have a hard line where they'll hook into a hard line that comes over to it. So, but right now the problem is I was installing these nut zerts and I snapped off the mandrel in that one. So I got to buy a new mandrel for my installer, as well as a see if I can figure out how to get that one out, or I'm going to have to drill it and cut it out. That's the end of this project for today. I'll find something else. So one of my next projects, I only got about 600 going. I need to clean, this is the window felts for the Chevelle, and again, we don't have any chrome on the car, so this can't stay either. I'm pretty sure this is stainless steel or possibly polished aluminum. Pretty sure it's stainless. Anyway, these don't separate, so it's not like I can take this strip off. This is molded inside there, and looks like if I tried taking it apart, it would just destroy it. So what I got to do is clean these all up real good. Probably going to use some acetone, and then once they're good and cleaned up, I need to tape off the window felt and probably go ahead and tape the backside just to keep the overspray off, and then paint those. So I'll scuff them and then paint them. I couldn't find any acetone. I know it's here somewhere. It was probably out in the other building. So we're just using a little break.
Thanks for watching Allison Customs Project Car TV. Like us on Facebook and check us out at AllisonCustomsOnline.com.